Hey, hey. Oh. Guys, I had an idea last night. It was too late to do any kind of recording, so I figured I'd wait to do one today, this morning. Guys, I'm going to share a little bit about myself and try to tie it in with a message. And it will relate to this golden age a little bit, although that's not really going to be the main theme of this. But, guys, I've already shared with you about my ring. And I've even shared with you, like, the knickknack, the swan knickknack up there. If you hadn't picked up already, I appreciate old stuff from my family. I very much try to honor my ancestors in the best way that I can, in remembrance, and, believe it or not, with breaking this family curse, even though other folks in my family would say I'm not honoring them because I'm not, because of the things I'm saying. But that's okay, because I'm working on something even bigger, and I'm trying to honor the folks that are past. And so that's important to me, to look back in the past and to bring the good from it. And guys, I've got a couple of these Monarch mind control books that I've shared. And one of them really went into the theme of being a beta. And one of the girls' stories in that book was a girl that lived around the 50s, 60s. And she tells her story of going through the program. Guys, you got to understand, this program's been going on for a very long time. Your grandmother went through it. I mean, possibly even before then, if you really look at how long the occult has been practicing this stuff. But I digress. And this lady's story was sad. And it really reminded me, and I have brought this up in an earlier lesson, y'all, it was tougher for our folks, for our parents and grandparents. I know they like to say that, and I know it gets under our skin sometimes, and sometimes it seems like they're being condescending, and it can come across that way. But I will say, and give them their flowers here, yeah, the silent generation, the boomers, y'all did have things tougher. I will give you that. Guys, that our folks and our grandparents didn't have the accountability like we have today. They didn't have phones with cameras or social media to keep up with people. When people disappeared, they just disappeared. And it happened a lot more often than we can even understand. So in that aspect, yeah, it was tougher. And they also had to just deal with the fact that people did get away with messed up stuff and nobody cared. So indeed, they had to go through things that were tougher. What are some other good things that our parents and grandparents did? Some other good character, qualities. Because there was some. There was a good bit. I would say, and my folks actually did teach me this, making things last, stretching things. Guys, our generation has gotten wasteful. And that's something that our parents and our grandparents especially really didn't get to grow up having. A lot of them had to make things last. There wasn't an abundance like we have today of certain things. And so, I remember that. I remember my folks teaching me that. It seemed to be like inconvenience for me. but it was something I did learn, was how to make things last and to stretch, how to be frugal. And I'm going to say much of a lot of the things I've been able to earn and work for and get today has been a result of learning that frugalness. You know, and I will say this, you know, a lot of people seem to think that I'm like a trust fund kid. I've heard that more than one time. People have, you know, assumed that I'm some trust fund baby. And I will have to say that there must be something about my family that they know that I don't. Because if I am attached to some giant trust or some pot of money, I have not seen a dime of it. So if there is, I don't know anything about it. They've hidden it from me. And whoever keeps saying that about me and my family knows something about my family that I don't. Everything you see behind me is a gift and a blessing from God, but it's a result from the hard work that I have had to put in. My folks made me get a job as soon as I turned 15. Pretty much when I was 14, Mom and Dad started peppering in my mind that I needed to get to work. And they hounded me until I got a job. I got a job at 15 and I worked some kind of job. Now there was times in between where, you know, I was out of work, but they didn't just let me not work. And I don't mean to be all, you know, make it about that, because that's not the whole point of the lesson. But part of it is, yeah, that goes back to that frugalness and that working for your money and stretching and understanding the value. And that is something that our generation has seemed to have forgotten about. And when it does come to the golden age, that is something that we're going to have to bring back from the past. You got to remember, guys, when I said when we go into this golden age, we're not going to have as much food. And there are going to be things that we're going to have to learn to stretch like they did back in the past. But it'll be good for us, because it was good for them back then. All right, what else? What else did our grandparents? I'm giving them some of their flowers. What else did our grandparents do that was a really good character quality that we seem to have lost? Resilience. Then that goes back to how they had to be tougher. They had to be more resilient back then. And that is something that we'll bring. But I am going to go ahead, just as I give them their flowers, I'm also going to give them the licking too. Our grandparents and our parents did not do a good job when it came to healing from having to be so tough. A lot of them took out their anger and frustration in the things that burdened them on their children. And they justified it by saying, well, I had to go through it and it'll toughen you up. And that's not a good answer. That's not a good reason. Guys, resilience is a good quality, and when we will learn to develop that, there will be things that we'll have to bring into play. That is a true fact. But there is a difference between learning how to be strong and being strong and taking out your pain because you didn't learn to heal, because you weren't strong enough to face your pain and shadows. And that's where our folks messed up. And that's where a lot of us mess up if we don't heal and go through the things that we need to, take out the baggage, get in the closet, do the shadow work. What ends up happening is you become hurt people hurting people. It's a loop. You ever notice that? And the whole time the people doing it will say, I want better for you, but they'll keep the cycle going, because they're stuck in a loop. And see, guys, this is the part of being the curse breaker. You break the loop. But people get used to being in that cycle. One thing that's great about human beings that we have, human beings have the ability to adapt in just about anything. But the thing is when we adapt, we don't like change, do we? Even if it's a bad thing, people will get used to doing that and they won't want to change. But you have to change. It's important to change. You must adapt to survive. And that is part of breaking the curse. That is part of being the chosen one. You are the change maker. You're the one who starts the fire. But not everybody wants it to be started. Because some people like it in the dark. Our eyes get accustomed to it. You ever notice when you've been in a dark room for a while and you open that curtain and the light comes in? And guess what? It blinds you. You shriek back. And some people would rather keep it dark so they don't have to feel the pain, the adjustment. Guys, you can't keep that curtain closed forever. So indeed, ancestors, mom, dad, grandparents, yeah, you did teach me good things. You did teach us good things. And we won't forget that. But there are things that we cannot cloak. We cannot cloak the bad from the past. That is part of growing up. Well, I guess this is growing up. All right, guys. Y'all have a good one.